I just don't see that. I think you get to the top of the second, you could still feel pretty comfortable that you're going to get Michael Penix there.
You are looking live at VSiN Primetime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, here's Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel.
4KU joins us on a progressive guest line. Thor, JJ McCarthy, over-under set at 6.5 at one shop here in town. You have been Mr. JJ McCarthy. Tell us, is he going top 6?
Yeah, we're going under on that slot prop. Whether that is, it really should be set at 5.5. The 6.5 number is weird, but yeah, whether that is a trade with the Chargers, there's been some talk today about maybe the Vikings are talking to the Cardinals now. And there has also been some steam, more than some steam, from very plugged-in reporters that the Patriots do not like Drake May. Maybe they like JJ McCarthy, or maybe they would be looking to trade out with a team that perhaps like JJ McCarthy. Either way, I would be betting the under on the 6.5 of JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I think the under 6.5 loops in the Giants, right, Thor? I think that's probably what the market's thinking there when you set the number at 6.5, because there's maybe some rumblings that they're going to be done with Daniel Jones. So let me ask you this. When it comes to the short end of the stick for who, you've come on with us, talked about Jaden Daniels, so then let's assume you're right on both. How far does this slip for Drake May?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I think he's the one who is in danger of being this year's guy who ends up dropping just a little bit. It ain't going to be like a Will Levis kind of a thing, but he could be the guy where then teams are trading up. Whether that is to 8, whether that is to, well, I don't think it would be 6 because, like you sort of mentioned, there's been this idea that potentially the Giants are where the train stops. I don't know if the Giants, would they be a fit for McCarthy? You have this administration that needs to win right now. They have 3 quarterbacks on their roster. I love JJ McCarthy more than anybody, but he's not going to help you win this coming year. But Drake May, maybe they think that they could put him in right away. But, I think Drake May, he's still in the mix there for the top 6. But I think he's dropping beneath where people initially thought, which was number 2. You have seen the odds boards decidedly flip in that regard here over the past, well, really 48 hours.
Thor Nystrom joining us here on VSiN Primetime on our progressive guest line. Thor, let's get to something that JVT and I just talked about at length. That's the quarterback prop. How many quarterbacks will go in the first round? And once again, not a lot of shops have put this up. We have a shop here in town that has put it up, and it is moving heavily towards the over. It's now minus 150 to over 4.5 and plus 120 to the under. So if we can say with relative confidence that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, and Drake May are in the first round, it boils down to, is Michael Penix or Bo Nix going in the first round when you look at this prop? How do you look at this particular prop that is significantly moved to the over since it's been posted here in Vegas?
Yeah, for me, that one just comes down to, is Michael Penix a first rounder? I think, was it about a month ago when I was on this show and I said any general manager that takes Bo Nix in the first round should be fired on the spot and then put in jail? Michael Penix, at least he has the theoretical shot, especially coming out of the combine, getting the clean bill of health. I still don't think he's a first rounder. And at the end of the day, I don't think that it shakes out that way. The only wild card there, it's Sean Payton's desperation. And if he gets boxed out and, in terms of trading up for one of those top 4 quarterbacks, which is looking like that's the way it's going to play out, would he desperation overdraft a guy like Michael Penix? I don't know. I still think that that would end up happening at the top of the second round. But he's the one that you're looking at with that. But I'm still taking under. I still think it's going to be 4 quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah, I think it too. When we talk about these, right, Thor, it's like, hey, we think this guy's a first-round pick or not. But it's also who you're up against at that point of the draft too, right? Like, so if you're some of these teams at the back end, yeah, you could trade back and get some more assets, but you're going to have a lot of these corners still left, these edge rushers, wide receivers. And so when you're talking about building a team, do you want to go and try to reach on a guy that might not have a first-round grade, its quarterback's a little bit older, or do I want to get one of these guys that's going to fill a slot or a skill position that's actually really valuable? And I think we're kind of missing that in the overall conversation here when it comes to these quarterbacks at the back end of the first round.
That's 1,000%. And what is the import and the value of those kind of guys that will be on the board? For instance, when the Broncos come up on the clock, if in the scenario where the 4 quarterbacks are off the board, and the teams that would be willing potentially to trade up into that slot, I think the Broncos would have options where they could trade down, get extra picks, whatnot. And you wouldn't project any of the teams in between them to take Michael Penix in the first round. So that's why I think it would be utterly ludicrous to take, him there. But even at the back end of the first round, I just don't see that. I think you get to the top of the second, you could still feel pretty comfortable that you're going to get Michael Penix there.
Thor Nystrom joining us here on VSiN Primetime, breaking down the NFL draft as he is going to do up into the draft. Final 45 seconds, Thor. Over under 6.5, juiced under on wide receivers, plus 175 to the over. How do you look at this prop?
I feel pretty good about this one. I'm going under. This is an awesome wide receiver class, which has two manifestations. Is there 7 guys that would be in a regular year worthy of going in the first round? Well, maybe. Yeah, no pun intended with Xavier there. But the thing is, this wide receiver class is also super deep. So teams at the end of the first round, some of them are not going to have the incentive to pop the wide receiver there, because on day 2, you can still get a super duper quality receiver. You look down there, Jalen Polk, Malik Washington, Javon Baker, Jermaine Burton, Johnny Wilson, Tez Walker, all these different guys going to go on day 2, whatever. Even into day 3, you're going to get values on receivers. So I'm going under on that 6.5 number.
He is Thor Nystrom, draft analyst for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Always appreciate it, Thor.